Yeah.
If you want compassionate people to be on board with you, you can't deport gay hairdressers seeking asylum. That's crazy. And then throw them in an El Salvador prison.
That's not even his country.
Right.
You deport people back to their country.
That's kind of crazy too.
Nuts.
Just think about what. Oh, hold on. I have so much hatred right now. Remember,
94% is good. So there's still people coming through.
Yeah.
And there's probably still people coming through that are criminals.
Yeah.
You know, but the thing is, like, you got to get scared that people who are not criminals are getting, like, lassoed up and deported and sent to, like, El Salvador prisons. Like, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Because I read some story. Was it Glenn Greenwald?
It was.
Yeah. The gay barber guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's scary, man.
Is that true? Is that story accurate?
I don't think we
Can
know.
you explain the story for people that don't know?
Well, from what I read, I think it was in Time magazine, Jamie, if you can pull it up, and maybe we can get it accurate. But basically, with a bunch of these Trinidad guys, allegedly they got at least one guy who wasn't a criminal, who was just a gay barber who I think, according to the story, came here legally. He was here legally. That's what they said. Don't know if it's
did
true.
he have a green card?
I don't know what the details are. Maybe Jamie can.
it's true that Obama deported people without due process. I don't know. I'd have to see. I don't know what that is a reference to.
Find it.
No criminal record.
From what it said in that story. Now, this is the problem, right? Because the mainstream media has been putting out so much shit that I don't know what to
Lie.
believe
Right.
anymore.
The
right?
mainstream media guys.
And so it's difficult, but it's something that we actually brought up in one of our conversations. We interviewed the guy from the Heritage Foundation. We brought this up because I think we talked about this with Doge as well. When you do things quickly and you do things aggressively, that's how you get shit done. But that's also when mistakes get made.
Right.
And I think a human being plucked out of nowhere and ending up in a country he's never been in a maximum security prison with gang members, seems like a bad thing to happen to me.
It's
Maybe,
horrific.
yeah. It might be.
It's horrific.
It might be
I don't think that should be controversial.
might be kind of
That's not
bad.
controversial at all. And this is the thing, measure twice, cut once. This is this is kind of.
I don't like it when this happens a lot on these podcasts, and it's one of the reasons why I just find it so deplorable when people say like, "Oh, these are good for long form conversations because we can have conversation we wouldn't normally have." Okay, you ever notice this happens so much in podcasts where somebody will say something and then somebody like kind of agrees, but then somebody will say something else and it's directly contradictory to what was just said, and then they all just kind of nod along and agree again. Like, what happened there? It's not Kirsten. Kisin? Konstantin just said the only way to get shit done is to do it really fast. But then Joe Rogan just said, yeah, and we should also like measure twice and cut once. You realize those are two completely contradictory ways of approaching things, right? But we just all kind of like nod along. I hate it when this happens in these shows. I have it so annoying as fuck.
Security prison with gang members seems like a bad thing to happen to me.
It's horrific. It's horrific.
I don't think that should be controversial.
No, that's not controversial at all. And this is the thing, measure twice, cut once. This is this is kind of crazy that could be possible. That's horrific. And that's bad for the cause. Like, the cause is let's get the gang members out. Everybody agrees. But let's not innocent gay hairdressers get lumped up with the gangs. And then, like, how long before that guy can get out? Can we figure out how to get him out? Is there any plan in place to alert the authorities that they've made a horrible mistake and correct it?
Well, if you think about it from a government perspective, and this is where I think it gets quite sinister, is once you've done that, the incentive structure is never going to be to admit that and deal with it. The incentive structure is to say nothing, to cover it up, to pretend it didn't happen.
But
right?
that is horrible.
So someone ends up in a black hole. But we've seen it. We've seen it in every country, including in America.
But that's the thing about politics, right? Never admit your fault. Never admit you're wrong.
What is the comparison for America again?
The signal thing, and this is the thing we're seeing with this. It's like, I don't know if it's been
wow,
brought to their
thanks for the 339 viewers.
I would assume someone's alerted them to the fact that they might have rounded up this just random hairdresser and accused him of being a gang member.
Did you find a story, Jamie?
But
Time magazine.
The thing is, it's like, what steps can be taken? Does prison know now? Does everybody? Can they talk to that guy? Can they pull him out of there?
Well, this is it. It's a maximum security. It's a maximum security prison. So the answer, I think, is we don't know at this moment. But
what is his life like in there, man? I mean,
probably not good.
It's horrific.
Fuck.
But this is also a large part of why this happened is because of illegal immigration. So you had this, and look, I'm half Venezuelan. You had Tren de Aragua, which causes chaos in Venezuela. It comes to the US. It causes horrendous amounts of chaos in the US. And that's awful.
I still don't even think, like, this should be scary to you, okay? That conservatives can just completely and totally invent these huge issues. Like, I'm so sorry, but I'd never even heard of Tren de Aragua prior. Did it even come up prior to the election? It was always MS-13, who also I'd never heard of until like Trump started talking about them over and over and over again. Like, is this a major concern that Americans have? Is Tren de Aragua? Like, nobody thought about these people. This is not a huge issue in the United States, but now it's like, now we're thinking, like, oh God, like all these, like, is it going to be a new gang tomorrow that we're going to point out who's like the #1 enemy to America? Like, what the fuck?
But also as well is then ordinary, decent, hard-working Venezuelans who all they want to do, their entire country has gone to shit, who have come here legally. They just want to work. They want to get ahead. They have jobs. They just have got families. They're trying to make ends meet. And all of a sudden, all you hear is Venezuelan does this, Venezuelan does that. And you're like, oh my God, man. It tars all of us with that brush.
Right.
I was walking in New York and I saw this group of this Venezuelan family, and they were there begging for money and for whatever else. And maybe it just hits harder because, they're from where I'm from or where my mum's from. And you just go, it just tarnishes all of us with the same brush.
Right.
When the reality is, like we were saying before, most of them are just good, decent, hard-working people. But because you don't have checks and balances in place, because you're not letting people, you're not vetting people, you're getting the worst of society.
Yep.
And the worst of society gives everybody else a bad name.
Gives everybody a bad name, but also you have to wonder why that's being tolerated. Is that being done on purpose? Do you want more crime and more civil unrest? Is this part of your goal? Why else would you do this? Why do you want to disrupt society in this way and allow this to take place?
I can appreciate that you're saying what you're saying, but is that true though, are actually a non-issue? I can't tell if you're trolling or not. I've never heard of Tren de Aragua before, like a couple weeks ago. I don't think so. I don't believe these are real issues. The only time, I don't even remember if the name was said on the Venezuelan apartment takeover shit, which I'm also pretty sure just that didn't ever happen that way. That there was some crime or violence or whatever, but the idea that there was some structured takeover of apartments by some Venezuelan gangs, I think is all we called them back then. I don't think anybody ever verified this ever. Like, I'm pretty sure the local police said this is not happening. So
allow the possibility of some sort of a gang attack or anything horrible to happen. What is this, Janie? Oh, this is it?
There's one in Forbes as well, Jamie.
This is from Time Magazine, a
the
photojournalist.
extremist religious guy from Jubilee said he would destroy Destiny in a debate. I would do it blindfolded. Somebody DM him and tell him to send me his thing or find me his Twitter account. I'll talk to him today if he wants.
Was on hand in El Salvador.
The DEA has been actively targeting Tren de Aragua for many years now. Conservatives, yeah, I'm sure there's like a ton of different gangs that are listed or named out by the DEA in terms of people doing or being involved in the transfer of drugs and everything, or the smuggling of drugs.
Prison guards beat a man who is likely to be Andy, a gay Venezuelan barber makeup artist who is seemingly falsely accused of being a gang member and renditioned by the Trump administration with literally no due process.
Yeah.
So do they have a photograph that looks like this guy? A young man sobbed when a guard pushed him to the floor. He said, "I'm not a gang member. I'm gay. I'm a barber." I believed him.
Oh, so what,
began
gang
to
members
whimper
can't
as
be
his
gay?
head was roughly shaved, folding his hands in prayer as his hair fell. He asked for his mother and cried as he was slapped again. Jesus Christ.
But yeah, why can't this guy just be like the gang's hairdressers? Like, what are you saying? That's impossible? Gangs don't have hairdressers?
I sent you the Forbes story, John. You're fine if you can forward it to Jamie. Maybe he can pull it up. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
And it,
Fuck, man.
yeah.
I don't know. Did Glenn Greenwald write it for sure? Because that's probably
Glenn commented on it,
That's
but
how I-
there is
yeah.
a Forbes
Yeah,
story that I
I
sent.
found out about it from Glenn.
Yeah. It's just, it's awful that, because you put yourself in that person's shoes.
Yeah.
And
I just sent it, Jamie.
what's terrifying about that is that you think about what that poor guy is going through.
Yeah.
If this story is real, what that guy is going through, that is literally the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah.
That's literally the stuff of nightmares.
Jubilee
you have
guy.
no recourse to any type of justice. There's no due process. You get rounded up. You then get kicked out of the country. You're in a maximum security prison with some of the most vicious gang members.
What to know about Andrew, 31-year-old makeup artist, falsely deported to El Salvador prison, lawyer says. immigration attorney.
Okay, I damned him. Good luck.
Say a gay Venezuelan makeup artist seeking asylum in the U.S. was wrongly detained as a gang member and deported to El Salvador, a case becoming a flashpoint in the debate over the Trump administration's deportation of hundreds of migrants to a notoriously inhumane El Salvador mega prison. Man. So again, it's hard to know
That's crazy.
It's hard
chat.
to know.
what's real and what's not real, but if it is real, this is horrible.
Yeah, that
But
could
if you
just be
think
the
about it,
mainstream
Joe,
media.
like I say, if you're rounding up hundreds of people, mistakes are going to get made because everyone's human.
100%.
And you then
It's
have
not
to have a
about-
system.
Oh, okay, never mind. I was gonna say it's not about mistakes getting made. It's about due process, so you can't even catch the mistakes being made. But he's about to say, I think that you need to have a system.
I think, that allows you to amend and make adjustments for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can't be bury your head in the sand and
No.
pretend it didn't happen.
No.
Like they
Yeah.
did with the signal
And
story.
this is the trouble with government. The incentive structure is all wrong. Like, to admit that is now embarrassing.
Oh, that is true. That's a good point. That's a huge problem with government, and it's one of the inherent weaknesses of government. This is why private industry is so much better, because in private industry, they admit mistakes all the time, because it's not like you'd ever see reduction in shareholder value, less customers, people leaving your company or boycotting or whatever. It's nice that private industry is completely and totally insulated from the effects of bad publicity.
That's crazy.
Right? And it's scary. We have the same problem in the UK in terms of the illegal immigration. And if we ever get a government that's going to deal with that, we're also going to have to remove a lot of people who are there illegally. They shouldn't be there. A lot of them are. And, you know, like I said, we had a report that shows they're way more likely to commit sexual crimes, way more likely to commit violent crimes, they're way more likely to commit all sorts of crimes. We are going to have to remove them, but you have to do it in a way where there's due process and a respect.
Are they trying to remove them in England?
No.
At all?
No. They're saying they are, but they're not removing them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the mistakes like that have to be corrected if you want reasonable people to be on board with you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
If you want, compassionate people to be on board with you, you can't deport gay hairdressers seeking asylum. That's crazy. And then throw them in an El Salvador prison. That's
Yeah.
That's not even his country.
right.
You
Yeah.
deport people back to their country.
That's
Right.
kind of crazy
It's
too.
nuts.
I don't actually know. Maybe it's a reach, but would you even call this a deportation? I almost feel like it's more like you're exiling someone or something. Like if you deport somebody, but you deport them back to a country that's not even their country, so it doesn't even really feel like. Damn, you deported him? Jeez, you sent him home? Oh no, we sent that motherfucker's ass to slave labor prison. He didn't even live that. He's not even from that country. Okay, that's pretty wild. Is there at least like the yellow tint on reality there? Yes. Okay.
It's just, what was the story with the student that got arrested for writing an op-ed piece?
Is that the Khalil guy or
No, the woman.
Is that the Korean girl from Columbia University? I don't know.
Korean.
No, that's a different.
I just want to point out how bad the optics are here. Just think about what. Hold on. I have so much hatred right now. Remember, these guys thought that censorship was the worst it ever had been. Oh my God. Censorship was the worst it ever had been under Biden. And both of these guys, he said, remember the person that got arrested or deported just for writing a bad op-ed? And both of these guys just named another case where somebody else got targeted for things that are strictly and totally within the First Amendment, okay? And they were both citing other cases that actually happened. They're like, oh shit, I'm losing track of them. We're 2 months in and I'm losing track of all of the abhorrent First Amendment violations. Ugh.
One. There's so many of them. There was a woman who got arrested for writing some sort of a thing. This is a Turkish student at Tufts University. Latest Palestinian supporter swept up in U.S. crackdown.
right?
What did she get arrested for? Have you seen this one?
No.
I saw it, but I haven't delved into it.
Joe, sorry, could I have the lighter, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you,
There
man.
you go.
She engaged in activities in support of Hamas, a foreign terrorist organization that relishes the killing of Americans.
But the department did not provide evidence of that support.
Right.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does
I
that
heard
mean?
She wrote some piece on Israel.
Yeah.
Jeez, are they using a blowtorch to light whatever they're smoking? What the fuck was that noise? Jesus.
I don't know what the law of that is because she's not an American national.
Right.
But instinctively, I'm just like, that's a lot. That's like crazy.
I think she's been in America though since she was 7.
Right. Has she?
I believe so.
I thought she had a student visa.
I think she's been in America since she was very young. I think that's one of the things that I had read.
Okay. She'd previously been arrested in April 2024 for taking part. Yeah.
Taking part in protests at Columbia University. So it seems like they're really trying to crack down at some of these Columbia protests, right?
Crack down on these protests. Like, listen to the language. All of these guys were telling you there was never, oh wait, we just heard it, it was like right at the beginning of this, wasn't it?
Things in that was an actual person who was trying to change things and put things in a position where he felt it was beneficial to the entire country.
Right, and it changes the feel of the...
Fuck, what was it? What did he say?
Oh, what was going to happen. And now it seems like we're in a completely... times.
It might have been right at the beginning.
What's up? Good to see you, my friend.
Great to see you, Joe.
Wild times.
Almost unbelievable.
Yeah. The last time you were here, we were really worried about what was going to happen. And now it seems like we're in a completely different timeline.
Yeah, I have to say, in addition to being just overarchingly worried about what was going to happen to the Republic and to the globe, I was personally worried about what would happen to people like you and me if we lost.
Yeah, probably wouldn't be so good for business. They probably would have cracked down.
There's that, but I must say, on my darker days, I had concerns even beyond that. And
Like, just listen to how stupid this was, right? I was so concerned about what was going to happen. Under what? Under Kamala. Okay, she's like vice president now, and Biden is president now. What's happening to you now? It's not about what is happening. It's about what could happen. Wouldn't they just be doing whatever they could do now if they wanted to do it? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're living in a delusional world. Like, what are you afraid of? You just lived for 4 years under Biden and nothing happened. What are you afraid of right now? What?
Probably should.
yeah.
Yeah, in light of what we now know. You know, it's this U.S. aid thing that's going on. You know, Mike Benz has been on that like a pit bull, and I've been following him on X, and he's going to come back on here and kind of explain everything. But he explained it the last time he was here, and I don't think...
Oh, wait. Wrong one. Sorry, Jesus.
And I'm in two minds about that because I think on a free speech basis, unless I don't know the law.
Just for clarity, that was a second person.
Second person.
Oh, this is a second person that was arrested?
Second arrest.
Oh, second pro-Palestinian Columbia University protester. Okay, so this second person has been arrested before.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, are we really arresting people for protesting, or are they protesting and also causing vandalism and violence? Like, what are we saying?
We don't know, right?
All right.
But I think there's...
Because it wouldn't like arresting people for protest. That's like some crazy, almost like authoritarian shit. Like, can we bring up when Kamala and Biden were arresting people for protesting? They were doing that, right? Isn't that...
the legal thing, from what I've read, is very complicated because if someone is not a U.S. national,
Right.
they may be subject to different rules or they may not. I think that's a kind of live debate.
It's not really.
But from a purely principles perspective, someone being arrested for writing an article seems extreme.
Keep in mind, nobody serious is debating that on whether or not they have any rights or not. Like, even the government, I don't believe, was making this argument. The arguments are a little bit more sophisticated legally. Sophisticated. But I don't even think even the government is trying to make this argument that like, oh no, they don't have any rights at all. Like, it's...
30-year-old was arrested and physically restrained by immigration officers near her apartment close to Tufts University's Somerville campus, where she was a PhD student. 6 plainclothes officers surrounded, how do you say that name? Ozturk?
Ozturk.
Ozturk. As she walked alone, neighborhood surveillance video appears to show the officers did not show their badges until she was restrained, the video shows. She affiliated with prestigious American universities to be arrested for purported activities related to terrorist organizations amid the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. So what did she say, though? Like,
She engaged in activities in support of Hamas. But what does that mean?
Right, without
What does that
specifying
mean?
what those alleged activities were. Yeah, this is scary shit.
It is
Yeah.
pretty scary shit.
You know, especially if it's just protesting. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know, you know.
Look,
It
the
is.
counter argument on this, and I think it's one that I, as someone who visits the United States, also feel is like, I don't think the United States would have given this person a visa if she had told them this is what she plans to do in America, right? So that's their argument. That's the argument that Marco Rubio is making, which is, if we'd known you were going to do this, we were never going to give you a visa.
Right.
What,
I don't think
protest?
this is the one that I'm thinking about that was here since she was 7.
No, that's a Korean girl at Columbia University, Joe.
Oh, okay. And they're talking about deporting her, right?
Yes, they're talking about
Right.
deporting her, but I don't know enough about
And
that.
what had she done? Had she committed vandalism or
I don't know enough about it. Jamie, if you get it up, then we can have a look at it.
it just...
But that's the one you're thinking of. The girl who'd been here since she was 7 is a Columbia student.
This girl also went to Columbia. So she got a master's degree at Columbia.
Yeah,
Interesting. So Colombia is the hotbed.
Seems like that.
yeah.
I wonder why. Why particularly Colombia?
Well, there have been a lot of protests, pro-Palestine protests in Colombia.
Why Colombia? Why Colombia? That's a good question. Does anybody know? Does anybody remember the stated reason by the Trump admin? Didn't they do Colombia? Am I making this up, or didn't they do it because of DEI? Didn't Trump say, or wasn't that was it in an executive order or something where they were like, they have DEI, so they're part of the university people that we're going after? I feel like I saw that.
Colombia.
There she is.
Yeah.
The other one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the girl.
Yeah, because they cut
know,
funding from the school as well.
the
They threatened to
we're
pull 400
rapid-
million in grants. I don't think it was just a threat. I think they actually went through with it. No.
Approaching the time where America and the UK is going to have a pretty uncomfortable debate as to what is acceptable and what is unacceptable when it comes to dealing with people who come here illegally, people who commit crime, or even if they attend protests.
Yeah.
Where is the line? Because we're going to have to make a decision. Because until we do that and we start to actually apply the law as it's meant to be applied and put certain laws in place, then these type of things are just going to continue to happen.
Yeah.
100%, especially if someone wants them to happen. Because that's what my fear is, that a lot of these things are paid for and organized, and including a lot of these protests at universities. I think they're doing it on purpose. And I think they're trying to build up a lot of passion in these people for being disruptive, and a lot of passion for protest and passion for, and then they weaponize it.
Crazy that we believe that college students are somehow being paid and organized to protest, but we won't say anything about Russia stuff. Well, maybe Joe Rogan does. I don't know. I haven't watched the shit on it, but interesting there. But
Really do. I believe that's exactly what they did with the Tesla buildings, with all the Tesla dealerships being light on fire. I think they
yeah. How could you possibly hate Elon Musk unless you're literally being paid to hate him? There's no way there's any organic dislike for Elon Musk, right? I can't believe that.
weaponized it, and it's a good test run. If they can weaponize it against Tesla, they can do that with a lot of other things and justify that kind of vandalism and fire and arson and all the chaos and property destruction.
I went to UCLA campus. This was May last year, and I went to a pro-Palestine demonstration, and I just went around just interviewing people, talking to students, and both on pro-Palestine and the other side. And one thing one of the kids said to me was, as he was trying to get into the library, he was like, most of the people who are doing this, they're not from UCLA. They're not from this college campus.
Right.
What are they doing here?
Right.
He goes, look, fair enough. If you want to protest and you go to UCLA, that's all cool, whatever. Number one, don't stop me from getting an education when my parents have paid X amount for it. But number two,
I forget, how many degrees does Charlie Kirk have? I'm guessing he's got like over, 50, 60 college degrees? Because we're saying, I guess, he goes to every single school that he sets his events up at? Or Steven Crowder as well, right? Crowder must have who knows how many degrees, because he must be doing the Change My Mind events only at schools that he's currently attending, right? Like, what?
Like, he pointed at one of the dudes. He was like, that guy's about 42. I know he doesn't go to my college.
Right.
Why is he here?
Well, old people can go to college. What?
Yeah, protesting.
It's being paid.
Yeah, and you're right. And there are a lot of foreign governments that want this shit to be going on.
100%. And there's a lot of bots online that want this to be. There's a lot of like momentum that pushes things into these directions.
If you're an LA local, is it illegitimate to protest at UCLA? I think if it's a state school, I think there are certain First Amendment protections so that anybody can go there. I don't think a school can prohibit anybody that has like state funding as long as you're not like breaking any time, manner, and place restrictions.
These are not organic. Just like Bernie Sanders' rally numbers aren't organic. Like, these are not organic. There's a
Wasn't this guy a Bernie supporter? Wait, does he think Bernie was paying people to go in or whatever? Or
I mean, that was during the Kamala Harris administration, or during the campaign, rather. You saw these inorganic moments where they filled these arenas with people that were paid.
Carolyn, a few questions about this deportation case. First, I wanted to clarify something that you said to Jeff a few minutes ago. You said you'd seen evidence that this man was a convicted gang member. In what court was he convicted, and for what?
This individual was an S-13 ringleader. This individual was also engaged in human trafficking.
he wasn't. He wasn't. That's what she means to say. Oh, convicted in court? When you say convicted, what do you mean by in court? Wait, what? Next question.
And I'm glad you brought up this point again, because I would like to point out that if you just saw the headline from the insane failing Atlantic magazine this morning, you would think...
This, guys, how do conservatives feel? They have to feel weird. Like, it's so blatantly fashy when it's like they refer to news media publications that they don't like as like the insane failing Atlantic, but like, bro, can you just like say the name of the publication? Are you okay?
Think this individual was Father of the Year, living in Maryland, living a peaceful life, when that couldn't be further from the truth. They didn't even mention in the title of that article, or even in the first paragraph, that this individual is an illegal criminal who broke our nation's immigration laws. He is a leader in the brutal MS-13 gang, and he is...
Where convicted where then? Just say where. Convicted where? Criminal conviction, United States. Where?
Involved in human trafficking, and now MS-13 is a designated foreign terrorist organization. Foreign terrorists have no legal protections in the United States of America, and this administration is going to continue to deport...
Really? We can rape and torture them? Is that true? If I find a terrorist, I can rape and torture the terrorist, and the Trump admin will come out and say, oh, well... FTO, foreign terrorist designation. That's a foreign terrorist. He has no rights in here, actually. So cruel and unusual punishment, infinite detention and detainment, no due process. Yeah, you can do whatever you want to. Oh, okay. Thanks for that.
Deport foreign terrorists and illegal criminals from our nation's interior.
But a judge ordered that he should remain in this country. So are you saying that it is okay to ignore a judge's ruling if you don't like it?
Who does that judge for?
He's an immigration
It was an
judge.
immigration judge who works for the Department of Justice at the direction of the Attorney General of the United States, whose name is Pam Bondi, who has committed to eradicating MS-13.
I misheard this. I'm so sorry. Hold on.
Okay to ignore a judge's ruling if you don't like it?
Who does that judge for?
He's an immigration
It was an
judge.
immigration judge who works for the Department of Justice at the direction of the Attorney General of the United States, whose name is Pam Bondi.
Okay, at the risk of, because I don't know the whole immigration process, are there certain judges that work for the Attorney General? Is that true? Or is she just completely and totally misunderstanding? And did she just combine two branches of government? Do immigration judges work for the Attorney General? If that was the case, then why do we even need the judge? Why can't we just say, why doesn't the Attorney General just whatever they say goes? What?
Who has committed to eradicating MS-13 from our nation's interior. And let me tell you why we've made this commitment. MS-13, may I remind each and every one of you, is a brutal and vicious gang. They raped and strangled a 20-year-old autistic woman to death in Maryland. They hacked 4 people to death with machetes in a park on Long Island. They have kidnapped, sexually tortured, and shot a teenage girl in Texas after she insulted them.
Okay, so for immigration judges, okay, so it is different for immigration stuff. An immigration judge, formerly known as a special inquiry officer, is an employee of the United States Department of Justice. An immigration judge decides cases of aliens and various types of removal proceedings. During the proceedings, an immigration judge may grant any type of immigration relief. Okay, an immigration judge is appointed by and works under the direction of the U.S. Attorney General. In other words, under the Immigration and Nationality Act, immigration judges act as representatives of the Attorney General and can only act according to authority delegated by the Attorney General, such as under the regulations or by the INA. I wonder what that process is like. It seems weird that the prosecutor could choose the judge But maybe this has to do specifically with because of the Immigration and Nationality Act, how that works.
Allegedly killed and mutilated a 17-year-old girl in Virginia, stabbing him 16 times and cutting off his hands. They beheaded and cut out the heart of a man in Washington, D.C. They raped and murdered a 13-year-old girl in California. They sex trafficked a slew of young girls, including one who was just 12 years old. Raped an 11-year-old girl in Brooklyn while her brother was in the room. Sex trafficked a 13-year-old in Maryland and Virginia. Miles away from this White House, even beating her 26 times on her backside with a baseball bat.
If Gary's economics is a scammer, what is he wrong about? He's wrong about literally everything. His master's thesis is stupid. Every time he talks about economics, his understanding is simplistic at best, if not outright misleading and dumb. He never gives any good prescriptions on how to change or help anything. All he does is tell you to buy his book over and over again. He's a scammer. And he lied about his entire work history.
To homeless New Yorkers to undergo unnecessary surgeries such as spinal fusion in order to bolster their fraudulent lawsuits. These are vicious criminals. This is a vicious gang. And I wish that the media would spend just a second of the same time you have spent trying to litigate each and every individual of this gang who has been deported from our country as the innocent Americans whose lives have been lost at the hands of these brutal criminals. We maintain our position, and very strongly so. Jennifer.
One more on the tariffs. Can you say what the latest thinking is on the start date? I know you were just in the Oval. Are they all going to take effect this week?
I love how they say, like, you were in the Oval instead of the Oval Office. I feel like that slang is just so fucking cool. It's so cool and based. Their lingo.
Reciprocal tariffs, and whenever they start, is that enough time for companies and everyone involved to adjust to that start date?
My understanding is that the tariff announcement will come tomorrow. They will be effective immediately. And the president has been teasing this for quite some time, as you know. He's talked a lot about April 2nd as Liberation Day in America. It would be taking place today if not for April Fool's Day. But tomorrow will be the day, and he's been talking about it for a while. And as a result, you've seen these companies make commitments to investing right here in the United States. Jasmine.
Thank you so much. I wonder, back on tariffs.
It's so goofy.
If any market indicators is the White House looking for to see if this tariffs plan is successful down the line?
Well, look, the president has been asked and answered this question about the stock market and whether he's watching it. And I've said, and he has said, the market is a snapshot in time. Yesterday, Dow futures were up. And there's been a lot of talk about the market, and it was up yesterday. So, look, the president wants to ensure that all Americans make out well, particularly Main Street. That's the focus of these tariffs. But as I've said repeatedly, just like they were in his first term, Wall Street will be just fine. Shelby.
Thanks. A bipartisan pair of senators sent a letter to the president today arguing that the recent strikes in Yemen are emboldening the Houthis and saying that Congress has not authorized war against them. Is the administration planning to consult with Congress at some point or going forward?
Well, who's Congress? What's that? Bruh. We just have a president now. Please remind this lady that Trump has a goddamn popular mandate. A mandate from the people? Please remind her.
Regarding the strikes and any response on the letter?
Well, I would absolutely reject Congress's claims. Who made those claims in Congress?
Senator Jeff Merkley and Rand Paul.
Okay, well, I would absolutely reject those claims. These Houthi strikes have been incredibly successful. Last time I was at this podium, there were more than 100 successful strikes. There have now been over 200 successful strikes against the Houthis. Iran is incredibly weakened as a result of these attacks. And we have seen they've taken out Houthi leaders. They've taken out critical members who were launching strikes on naval ships and on commercial vessels. And this operation will not stop until the freedom of navigation in this region is restored, which is a critical principle. And this president stands behind our Defense Department, who's doing a tremendous job.
And are they going to, is the White House going to confer with Congress going forward on this?
I would have to ask our team here at the White House, but the president is well within his authority, as is the Secretary of Defense. Again, these are defensive strikes. The Houthis have been launching attacks on U.S. naval vessels and commercial.
These are defensive strikes. Holy shit. Not only are we giving all of our money to Israel, now we're taking foreign policy tips from them. I'm just kidding. Video games.
Ships for quite some time. Go ahead.
Caroline, the pause on the Canadian and Mexican tariffs, the fentanyl tariffs,
that's set to expire tomorrow. Is the president considering extending that pause?
Look, I will let the president speak on the specifics of the tariffs tomorrow. But as for fentanyl, we have seen this has certainly caused a national security crisis here in the United States. Fentanyl continues to be the #1 killer of young people in this country, and the president is very much focused on that. Deanna.
Thank you, Caroline. The president recently signed an executive order on making D.C. safe and beautiful. On the campaign trail, he talked about making New York great again.
Oh, also, real quick. Am I going to want to do Foundry stuff in terms of like cooking material on Novice, or because I don't have access to lava there?
Does he have any plans on establishing a similar task force? Has he been pressuring Governor Hochul in any way in his conversations?
Oh, and then also real quick. One thing that I think is kind of weird about Trump drone striking Yemen is I feel like if you were just a good negotiator, I feel like you wouldn't even have to drone strike the Houthis. Like if you just I feel like if you just had like a good conversation with them, I feel like they'd stop. Like if you just had a good talk.
War and foreign expansion.
That's right.
What is that?
I think it's just a failed mentality. It's crazy. You can solve problems over a telephone. Instead, they start dropping bombs. I see recently they're dropping bombs all over Yemen. You don't have to do that. You can talk in such a way where they respect you and they listen to you. Viktor Orban of Hungary, you know, the leader, they call him a strong man. Who cares if he's a strong man or not a strong man? He's a very powerful guy.
Yeah, we just have to call him, right? To be fair, this is a long time ago. This was like 10 months ago.
About New York and lowering crime.
Well, he has been in correspondence with Governor Hochul quite a bit on the issue of crime, also on the issue of congestion pricing, and so many other issues that are facing New Yorkers. And he wants New York to clean up their streets just as he does here in Washington, D.C. He also speaks to Mayor Adams as well. So he's engaged with state and local leaders across the entire country to ensure they're doing their part to help American citizens in each and every state, regardless of if it's a red state or a blue state.
And then a question on Russia. Yesterday, the Russian government said that their new goal is 160,000 conscripts for the war. Has the president seen that number? And does he have any response given his recent conversations on peace talks?
Well, I can tell you what the president said last night, and that is he is frustrated with leaders on both sides of this war. He wants this war to end. There are men that are dying.
Day one, remember, this war was supposed to end day one in office. Day one. What happened? We were supposed to see a day one. Day one. One, as in the first day in office. This war was supposed to end day one, the very first day. What happened?
On both sides, and it's been going on for far too long. Our team continues to be engaged with the Russians as we...
The religious guy from Jubilee didn't get your DM. He wants you to DM him again. I DM'd him. We're DMing. I might debate him. We'll see. He wants me to like try to set up a he wants me to like set up like a full event, like in real life. To do a fucking religion debate. I don't know. We'll see.
We are with the Ukrainians, and the president continues to be very, very much engaged on this topic every single day.
Caroline?
Sure.
Caroline,
Sure.
The president said over the weekend that he couldn't care less if prices went up on foreign cars because people...
Sorry. You are right. I am lying. He didn't say it would end on day one. He said before he even got into office, it would end. My bad.
I will prevent, and very easily, World War III, very easily. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, I will have the disastrous war between Russia and Ukraine settled. It will be settled quickly. I will get the problem solved, and I will get it solved in rapid order, and it will take me no longer than one day. I know exactly what to say to each of them. I got along very well with...
Buy more American cars. There's been consensus from a lot of economists.
How do you think Trump supporters reconcile Trump's day one statements? I don't know. We got to talk to some at some point. I mean, maybe I need to start doing Twitter spaces again or something. Are there any left-right debates happening anywhere? Like, are any conservatives debating right now? Anybody?
economists that these tariffs could raise prices on other goods as well. Is the president comfortable with Americans on Main Street?
I think Dean was doing live debates on. Oh, no. I mean, I'm sorry. Those are good, and I support people doing that. But I mean, are there any famous conservatives that are like debating anybody anywhere, or is it all? Is it just like TikTok stuff happening, like randos?
Paying more because of these tariffs.
The president is doing everything he can, and this entire administration is doing.
I saw a piece go on Tim Pool. I feel like Tim was a little bit more gentle, and it was more of a specific issue. Tim got annihilated on that, though. It wasn't even close. Tim got obliterated. Are there any other conservative figures doing it?
Everything we can to bring down the cost of living in this country. An inflation mess that was fueled by the previous administration's reckless spending, overburdensome regulations that this administration is focused on slashing every single day. I just read you a statistic just from the Environmental Protective Agency alone.
Charlie was on campus. Famous people debating famous people. I'm sorry, not like conservatives doing like the student bashing. Like I want to see like a Sam Cedar or David Pacman. Like, are these people getting debates with anybody? Like, are there any big conservatives being held to task? Not just like random fans or people debating students. Although, or maybe nobody has ever done this, and it was literally just me and Sam sometimes. I don't know. And because conservatives are always ducking these types of conversations.
Saving taxpayers money that's ultimately going to drive down.
Yeah, somebody said, what counts as famous? I feel like no actual famous conservatives have been doing debates since like 2020. Yeah, you might be right, yeah.
Inflation, and we're unleashing the might of our energy industry, which will bring down prices as well. To the heart of your question, because this is...
Mehdi and Crenshaw? Is that the one we watched that, didn't we? That was kind of embarrassing but I don't remember that lasting too long. Oh, I guess we just have to check fucking Piers. Piers Morgan is our only source for people debating now.
It's very important to the American people. You should try.
Regardless if Gary's economics is a scammer, do you disagree with his talking point about wealth being redistributed from the middle class to the billionaires is our time's biggest issue? Wealth is not necessarily being redistributed from the middle class to the billionaires. I think that's a stupid way of looking at it. I think the problem is that people have a zero-sum game of economics where if one side is winning, it must mean they're taking from somebody else or they're stealing from somebody. That's not necessarily true. The problem is billionaires can just grow their businesses and then can amass so much power and so much capital that it has a lot of weird effects on society and arguably on politics and everything else. This is a problem, but it's not just because they're stealing money from the middle class through a limited amount of assets available for purchase, like Gary says. This is the most retarded take ever. Yeah, it's just not, yeah. Like, wealth can grow in one party without necessarily taking from another party.
To the heart of your question, because this is very important to the American people, you should trust what this president did for you in his first term. He effectively utilized tariffs while driving down inflation. It was
that didn't happen.
Record low 1.4% when he left office, and he's focused on getting back to that.
When he left office? You mean when no one could buy anything because the world was shut down? What the fuck?
It's unfortunate the previous administration left us in this mess. Sure.
Representative Anna Paulina Luna left the Freedom Caucus over their lack of support for her bill that would allow new parents to proxy vote around 12 weeks around the birth of their baby. Does the president support that bill?
I'm not sure. I haven't actually talked to the...
Wait, what?
For their lack of support for her bill that would allow Anna Paulina Luna left the Freedom Caucus over their lack of support for her bill that would allow new parents to proxy vote around 12 weeks around the birth of their baby. Does the president support that bill?
Proxy vote around the birth of their baby? What the fuck does that mean?
I'm not sure. I haven't actually talked to the president about that bill, but I certainly can and can get a take on if he supports it or not.
Thank you. And one more. The D.C. Circuit ruled last week that the D.C. Circuit ruled last week that the president can fire holdover Biden appointees of independent agencies. Will this ruling empower President Trump to dismiss more federal employees?
Well, the president...
Congress members to be allowed to stay in their state and vote on bills from their maternity leave. Oh, maybe. Okay.
Has given the responsibility to his cabinet secretaries to hire and fire at their respective agencies, and they reserve that right. You saw the Secretary of Health and Human Services announced more layoffs today. This is all part of the administration's effort for a mass reduction in force in the federal bureaucracy here in Washington, D.C. to save American taxpayers money. As for agencies within the president's executive authority, the president retains that right, and we've We've seen there have been bureaucrats at some of these agencies that have been trying to act independent. They need to remember who they work for. It's the executive of the executive branch. You look at the United States Institute of Peace, for example. There was a little bit of a standoff with bureaucrats over there who didn't want to realize who they work for, and that is Donald Trump. And President Trump is focused on streamlining these agencies to save American taxpayers money, and he has every right to do that. Caroline. Sure. Go ahead.
Caroline.
Thanks, Caroline.
Yeah.
In Gaza, the bodies of 15 rescuers have been found in their sort of ambulances where they were apparently killed by Israeli forces. Just wondering if the White House is going to be calling on Israel to investigate that and to try and avoid similar casualties involving rescue workers in the future.
Well, as for the specific situation you just mentioned, I'll talk to the president about it and our national security team. What I can tell you is what I've spoken with the president on. He very much remains committed to backing Israel, and it was only because of this president and his team's leadership that we had a temporary ceasefire in Gaza, that we were able to bring many hostages home. And the president made it very clear to Hamas, you get the hostages out, all of them, or there will be hell to pay. And Hamas is certainly witnessing what it feels like for all hell to be paid, and the president supports Israel's right to defend itself.
Any progress at all on a ceasefire at the moment, as far as the president's concerned?
The president and his team continue to be engaged on this every single day. Sure.
Caroline.
Go ahead,
So I'm just wondering, related to that, if you have an approximate date for the president's first foreign trip. I think there was a little confusion yesterday about what month he was talking about. And then will he need a ceasefire to be in place or closer, either in...
Tuned in late. Has anyone asked about the rendition to innocent people? Those people actually weren't innocent. They were MS-13 gang murderers and necrophiliacs who chopped pinkies off of little children. But don't ask us where they were convicted at, but trust me.
Gaza or in Ukraine before that takes place?
The president will be heading to Saudi Arabia in May. As for specific dates and details, we will be reading those out to you as soon as we possibly can. I know our teams are working on the details of that trip. And then again, as for a ceasefire, the president's made it clear that's what he wants to see in Russia and Ukraine, and his team continues to be engaged on it every day.
And
Kelly.
Signal, you said case closed yesterday. As that case was closed, do you have anything that you can share about what was learned, how this can be avoided in the future, any sort of findings from that investigation?
The case is closed, and the president continues to have confidence in his national security advisor. Yes, Kelly. Kelly.
Thanks, Caroline.
Signal gate is done. Gate closed.
So
Sorry, Ed.
Has
Ed, I'll come to you after.
The president
I'm glad you're so eager to ask a question.
It's Liberation Day.
Just load the stone on both sides of the belt using the inserter settings? Wait, what? There's no shot you can do that. Did you use April Fool? Kill, you're in a video game.
Yes, it is.
Caroline, the president has said foreign
Tomorrow.
countries and companies will eat the cost of tariffs. In his speech on Inauguration Day, he said, quote, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens.
Right.
So then why did he have to tell the domestic automakers not to raise prices?
Well, that was a private conversation that was had. I'm not sure if that comment was made or was not made. But as for what the president said in his Inauguration Day speech, he's absolutely correct. A tariff will be a tax on these foreign nations, these foreign companies, and if they want to be absolved of that tariff, then they can come here to the United States of America to do business, bring their jobs here. Edward, go ahead.
Thank you. So Canadians have been negotiating with the Commerce Secretary over the trade, the tariffs. How many companies are mutually talking with the U.S. or countries are mutually talking with the U.S. to lower tariffs?
I don't have a specific number, but I can tell you there have been quite a few countries that have called the president and have called his team in discussion about these tariffs. But again, there's one country the president cares most about, and it's the United States of America, and doing what's best for the people who elected him to this office to restore their jobs, their wealth, and their prosperity. I'm looking at the clock. I have a hard out today. I have a hard out today because I'm actually heading over to the State Department with the First Lady of the United States.
Oh my God.
She will be delivering remarks at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Please debate him. You are wrong. The economic system is a finite system. Like, it definitionally is not. What are you talking about?